I've always been quite a fan of something called pinhole photography, which is the most basic type of camera you can ever get. It's basically a box with a pinhole in the box. Now there are some commercial pinhole cameras, and I'm going to start with one of those in this video. And this is the Ilford Titan. This is a camera that has been available for some time. I must say I was a little bit shocked by the price. I have borrowed this particular one, but they are about £200. They are made by a company called Walker Cameras, and I must say it is actually very well made. It's this cone here. This is the standard cone, but you can get a telephoto cone, and it's simply on clips. And the cone will simply come off like that and go back like so. Click back in. We have a little cap for the actual exposure. We have a very useful tripod mount, so that will go on a tripod easily. I presume we've got a hot shoe that we can maybe get a viewing accessory. To load the film, you have to use a thing called a dark slide. Now, a dark slide, these were film carriers for sheet film that were used on studio cameras or plate cameras. And I've got some paper in this, so I can't actually demonstrate exactly how to load this. I will in a future video, but I have got a piece of paper this side and a piece of paper that side, and you will see when I use the camera I have to take out this plane here, and this basically just slots in there. Now the camera comes in a very nice box with instructions, and these you can buy, there is a sheet in the camera box, but you can also download these off the Ilford Titan website. And it's simply an exposure indicator. So on here, all I need to do is select the rever symbol. The ISO is the speed of the film or paper. I have done some experiments, and a lot of online research, and for me the ISO 3 seems to be about right. So that is what I'm using for my paper speed. I'm actually using Ilford multigrade paper in the dark slide. So when I was doing these I did a couple in September, and I found that the Sunny at the f-stop is equivalent to 250, f250, and it was about a minute. It's really dark outside today. It's the 1st of January, a very dull Dorset day. I think it will be a lot longer. This is saying that it will probably be around an hour, that much longer. I'm hoping for some brighter weather in the next 2 days, where I'm going to take this out and experiment and see what happens. So this is the Harman Titan. They have got quite a name for these are quite popular. You will find quite a lot of information on the web. Let's see how I got on when I actually used this. So this is the setup outside. As you can see, I'm on what is called Fordington Green. I've set up the tripod. I've got the dark slides in. It's a really nice afternoon. In the beginning of January, I've taken out the dark slide, which was a bit complicated trying to hold the camera. This is the exposure dial, and this is actually making an exposure, and as you make an exposure you need to time it. I timed it for 1 minute and 15, as it was pretty light. Then this is going into the dark room. Now, I had issues in the dark room. I wanted to show you the whole process, but there just wasn't enough light, and I'm going to have to use a faster lens. I'm looking forward for doing some darkrooms demonstrations. I did have a go, but you can see how dark this is. However, this was actually the resulting negative, which is lovely. I took 3 images and they were all fine actually, but the next process is, so that is developing the negative. I then need to scan it, so here's my little scanner and I'm placing one of the images in the scanner. I use a program called a view scan to actually I've got a very ancient Epson scanner, as you can see there, and the drivers aren't up to date on but ViewScan works incredibly well, though it just costs, I think it costs about £90, but you can use it with any scanner and the updates are superb. So I got it set up to flat bed here, and it's going to save us a PDF, but that's fine because I can send, so that's my scan image. And I'm then going to put that into Photoshop. So I then have selected these and I'm putting into new image, and that should then give me the 3 images like so. Now, once I'm in Photoshop, I need to make that in, I need to crop it first. And so that's the crop, which is fine. And then I'm going to invert it down here. Now, this is the long way of doing it, of inverting, cropping, then sorting out the levels. You can, I've use actions. So in the second image I'm going to use, so that's the first image, which is actually was the third image I did. I'm just playing about with the levels here. You haven't got a lot of mid-tones, but you have got a little bit of a mid-tone that you can play about with. You can use curves. I like using for years, for some reason, I've always used the levels. I find for me, it's a system that works. So that was one of the images. Just alter the composition a little bit there. Of course, with a pinhole, you don't actually know what you're looking at, right? So I think you're allowed a bit of cropping. I don't normally like to crop my images, but sometimes needs must. So that's okay. And I'm in Photoshop, so to save it as a JPEG, I need to save as a copy. Now, this was another image I did. Now this time I've got it saved on actions, and I've made my actions, which was to invert and to then do auto tone, and you can see press of a button gives me the image I want. I can just scale it and play about a little bit with the with the cropping here. Again, I've got too much ground in there, but never mind. And I think this was the final image. Oh, this is the final image, which was actually the first image I took. And again, just crop it there. And then I'm just using the actions to, or will use the actions once I've cropped it. Play the actions. Actions are a really good way of getting lots of things done. Now, finally, I'm going to have to save that as a JPEG. And those observant people will realise that is actually the wrong way round. So I can flip it up here. That's better. Now, I think for a pinhole camera, that is not too bad at all. So those are my other images there. So it was, I thought, a well worth afternoon. I enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something. So bye for now.